Camera. Good evening, everyone. I am here with Joe Carlson and his brothers and wife and daughter, and they will introduce themselves in a minute. This is Coffee with Mildred. My name is Maria Erickson. This is my son, Kai.
Hello.
He's the producer, and we'll take any of your questions in the chat feature. Coffee with Mildred. I wanted to do Coffee with Mildred to be able to bring these wonderful conversations that I have with local people about life in Cook County. And every time that you ever left someone's house and thought, oh, geez, next time I'm going to record what they say, I'm going and doing it for you. But please feel free to do it as well. So without further ado, I am going to have everyone introduce themselves, and we'll try and get lined up here so we can see. We'll start with the peanut gallery way in the back. Way over there.
Hi, I'm Denise Axtell, and I'm daughter to Joe and Joy Carlson.
Okay. Denise is very socially distant, doing her good job there. And then, if you want to introduce yourself.
I'm Joy Ryden Carlson. I'm married to Joe.
And I'm Joe, but my real name is Robert.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
I'm Ronald, but they call me Carbine. Everybody knows.
Yeah, we wouldn't know you as.
And I'm the oldest. I'm Gene Carlson, and that's my real name.
All right, let's see. Can we get the brothers to squish a little closer together? I know it's not at all in your nature, but we'll get the three of you on here.
Oh,
There we go. I know. So you guys have how many brothers? You have more brothers, right?
Yes. Noble, he lives on the reservation.
Okay. And then you also had another brother who passed away when he was 32. Okay, so there were 5 of you kids?
6 boys and 1
And Edward. There's Edward in no cousin.
Edward's in Ecuador. He's 81.
Okay.
And
he's a third.
Carbine's going to turn 80 Friday tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I've seen the big invites on Facebook. Everybody's going. So how did your family come to be in Cook County?
And we have a sister in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
She's 13 years younger than me. I'm the oldest. She's the youngest.
Diane.
Okay. So how did your family come to be in Cook County?
Grandma and Grandpa Carlson, they came from, well, we thought they came from Sweden, but their address was in Finland. But they claimed to be Swedes, didn't they, Joe?
Yeah. But I don't know.
So then they came over to Ellis Island.
Uh-huh.
And then they ended up in Lutzen, wasn't it? Or
Yeah, Lutzen.
in Lutzen.
Down below the old
while.
school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then they bought some property in Crawfordville.
But Dad was before that. Dad grew up in Lutzen.
Yeah.
Okay.
With Willard Nelson, his buddy, they chummed together, Ray Carlson and Willard Nelson.
Okay. And then Crawfordville, they bought property there.
From Joe Croft, yeah.
Okay. And then how did they make it to up in Hovland?
Dad worked for a guy. He worked for
Captain John.
Captain John. Yeah, he herring fished for him. He worked for that. Well, that's a mile from where he actually built his house. And then he saw the opportunity to do his own fishery where the houses are right now.
So this was the first house that you grew up in, right?
Yes.
Okay, Kai, tell me how this looks. Let's see. Are we
And
getting it
Dad
on
built
there?
that house.
Okay. And that we were just having a discussion before we came on air that this first house, you ended up moving it back from the road, right?
But before that, we added on a bedroom and a living room. They moved the whole workshop right down to the lake.
So was this the whole works?
Mm-hmm.
This was the whole works, had to move it down to the lake
Yes,
because it was,
Highway right away.
Those are the fish houses there.
and this is where he did his commercial fishing out of?
Yeah.
that red roofed house, that's the original house.
Okay.
And that was in 1934 when he started fishing there. And he built a fish house first, didn't he, I think?
I don't know for
We
that.
don't know for sure if he built a fish house and the house the same year or not, but that was in 1934 or 35 when he started commercial fishing there on his own.
I know for the house, he tore down another house. I don't know where he got the lumber.
Yeah,
They tore down another house and built that house, the small, first part of it.
So did he fish alone then? Or did he fish with, I mean, you said he started his own
Yeah.
kind of deal, but would he go out in the boat by himself?
he
And
built his own boats too. To
Oh.
fish with. What were they, 16 foot?
Yeah,
Yeah,
16 foot
pine.
pine, yeah. And he fished, some summers he fished out in the hole in the wall on Pigeon Bay. And he built that house there, which we would stay in the summertime. And
how's that look?
you've heard of the hole in the wall, haven't you?
I feel like I have, but I wouldn't know where it is.
Pigeon Day and on
It's
the
out
Pigeon
past the
Point.
Susie Islands and around Pigeon.
On Pigeon Point.
Oh, okay.
It's still there. It's a, they maintain it, don't they?
Yeah,
Portage.
yeah.
They maintain this,
Grand Portage does, yes.
I just
They own the property, don't they? Grand
camped there this
Portage?
summer.
Yeah, they own it.
Stayed there this summer at Wally Dishon.
oh,
His kids.
wow. It doesn't look very big.
It's not.
You
Kind of
used
a
to live
one-
out there, didn't you, Joe, in the summer when?
Well, we live out there, me and Gene would go out there and
Yeah,
help them fish out there in
Yeah,
the summertime.
we
And
went.
then the Isle Royal boat would come and pick up your herring from there, didn't it?
Or trout mostly,
Royal.
trout
Yeah.
whitefish.
and that was Roy Ober.
Yeah, and they pick up herring from Irby. Irby was out there for a while too, fishing herring.
So, basically, you guys grew up in Hovland.
Grand
Grand
Portage.
Portage
Oh, in Grand Portage.
on
So
the
do you,
reservation.
so do you go to school then in Grand Portage?
I went 8 grades when the school was there.
The log school that's there now, the old log school, we all went there up to date, from first to 8.
And then you, after 8th grade, you went into town then?
Yeah.
Grand
Mhm.
Portage.
Mhm.
High school was from 9th through 12th. And so I graduated from Grand Marais High School, and now I live in Grand Island, Nebraska. And I was raised in Grand Portage.
Huh, I see a theme there. So did you all then, I assume you all got roped into the fishing as you were growing up?
Oh, yeah.
Tell them about the rowboat when you guys were,
Oh, me and Joe, we were so small when we started fishing. Dad gave us a net, and he had 2 boats. And we were so small, we'd have to have one on each oar. He'd be on one oar and I'd be on the other oar. And that's how we set the net out, and we actually did the fishing on our own. What were we, 9, 10 years old?
We
Yeah,
all did that. We all of us kids.
when it got rough weather, he'd take the big boat out and pull the net in for us.
how did
Well,
the
that
rowing
was
work?
nice of him.
Yeah, go out there and like the fear and you're a kid setting nets rowing. I wouldn't send a kid out there.
I hope not.
Yeah, you've learned a few things out
Yeah.
there on the lake.
You
So-
learn how
to have
to
extra
you learn
oars.
how to be scared.
Uncle,
I
tell
don't think I
me
knew
about,
how
tell
to
us
be
about
scared.
the rowing between you and Dad when you rowed.
Oh, I was so fussy with everything. Because I was older, I guess I would just get so mad at him. Did I ever hit you with an oar?
No, you hit me with a fish box. and
Oh,
busted
fish
apart.
box.
It wasn't a very good fish box. It broke apart. He's mad because we were sitting down the reef. I'm rowing and he's setting the net out. And he got mad because I got blown off the reef. I wasn't going where I was supposed to. But the next day the net was full of trout. Because that's where they live, is over the reef, most of them.
You're giving away the fishing secrets now. Everybody will be out trying to find reefs.
Me and Eddie rode a lot too.
Hand me that logbook, Joy.
This one?
Mom kept a logbook of the fish that we caught. And so the dad, he would know how much to pay us because it was all shipped in Dad's name.
Okay.
Severson or Kemp, was Kemp then?
Goldish was the ones we.
Sam
sold.
Johnson, Sam Johnson,
Nominated to.
Sam Johnson was
So
there
she
too.
has the price,
Check the next day.
she had the
after we
prices
sent
of the
in.
fish on here.
And Severson's, we didn't.
Here, I'll hold it up.
No, Goldish we sold to, we'd buy them and pay the
Let's
next
see
day.
what
Sam
page.
Johnson too. And then
Yeah.
Rich, then some days, Gertrude, me, we send to different companies all the time because they, so they sent fish and they brought the price down, so we go.
Well, she had the weight of the
Sam
fish,
Johnson was
8
first,
pounds, and
then
how much they were
then
worth,
Adam.
$1.16.
For 8 pounds?
Did she have the name of the herring or trout?
I'm thinking that was
Okay.
58 pounds, and it says herring. Cisco's.
But
Lots
she had
of
the pounds
herring.
and the total amount. But yeah, it was,
Let's have that green book.
September
Let's have a little green
6th,
book. Dad had a green book, too.
1935.
Remember that green book you had?
Noble's got that.
Oh, okay. I've had more of it in there.
But Mom kept records for us, so we, Dad wouldn't, he didn't pay any attention, so we always got our money for the fish that we caught.
Well,
So we
you had a
money
good
in
mom.
school.
Yeah. You guys had all the toys then. So
Well,
did.
I bought my clothes, I ordered my clothes from Penny's catalog
Yep.
when I was in high school.
Oh, the good old days, the catalog.
Yeah.
How long was it before you had electricity? Well, you had a lighthouse, light plant.
Dad had
You got
32
electricity?
volt light plant, and then he had a wind generator that was 32 volt at one time, but a seagull got into one of the blades and broke the blade off, so, and we had a generator that charged a big bank of batteries, 32 volts.
So what year do you suppose that happened, that you got electricity?
Oh, right away, didn't he work on it?
I don't even know.
In
I
the
don't
40s?
keep track of years.
That generator got from, he got that from, what's his name, Sextus
Texas
Lindahl.
Lindahl.
Yeah, I bought it from
He got
him,
the
because up the
generator.
border, he owned, we're riding border, old border was.
Yeah.
Texas Lindahl owned that, Dad got the generator from him, because he had to have a generator for a store up there and that.
But we did our school studies most of the time, which we didn't do much of, did we, Joe?
We do it in school.
Latin lamps.
Yeah.
Latin lamps that was our light, and then we got the propane, not propane, but the white gas lamps, lanterns.
Yeah.
that people used for camping. That was our lighting.
I can imagine that there was a lot of shenanigans at your house with all those boys.
Well, put up with us.
And this is your mom and dad, right? This
Yes.
picture?
They were
Yes.
dating there, I think.
This
And
is
my sister, that's my sister.
No, Auntie Dolores.
Oh, not that one. Where's the one with my
That's
sister?
Auntie Dolores. But-
Dolores
Dolores.
Johnson.
Dolores.
She
She
lives
become
in
a Johnson.
California.
There's another picture with,
But you were saying that your mom was how tall? 5 feet?
5'1".
5'1", wasn't she?
Yeah. She said she's 5'2", but I think she's 5'1".
So how did she, manage to keep you guys all under control?
So put us outside and shut the door on us.
We were up the creek fishing all the time.
If it wasn't raining, we didn't have any shoes. We walked a mile to the creek and fished a mile up the creek and walked back home on the rocks.
If you weren't home in time for dinner, you guys had to cook your own. They cook fish.
That's what you said, cook your own supper if you don't get that back home in time, and that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We learned to cook.
That is
Well, I
good.
all liked it.
I learned to be home in time.
Or you learn to be on time, yeah.
And Dad did chartering for lake trout in the summer, and he made really good money at that. Those are some of his clients from Minneapolis and from Iowa and Nebraska. He did really well with chartering.
Did he ever get any of the gangsters?
Probably, you know, he had game wardens, had sent a doll. And he probably had some gangsters.
He had a judge from
Judge
Judge
Magny, you know, Magny Resort.
Mm-hmm.
They say
He
park
used to
there.
take him out on charters. They caught 25 and 30-pound lake trout regularly. They haul them up to their car in a wheelbarrow.
Oh my.
Big lake trout.
So how is the fish changed from when you guys were kids till now in Lake Superior? Have you noticed any difference or does it cycle through?
Herring used to take 3 to make a pound. Now there's herring that are 3 pounds.
The fish there today is just as well or better than they were. And we just go, the DNR says there's not there, the herring. There's so much herring out there that, when I know our friends, and even Joe, when he fishes, could fish 3 nets, but only fishes 1, because that's all you can take care of. That's how much fish is in it. Yeah, Joe.
It seems like there's more herring now and more trout.
A lot of lake trout around.
Well, they restocked the trouts. They've got too many trout. But you could go anywhere to the grass. They were just stacked up all over, and we'd go just sport fishing for them. And yeah, we limit in a little while. We still do. You know, if you know where the trout are hanging out. There was quite a few trout when we were younger, but they disappeared. They said because of the lampreys, and I think the smelt had a lot to do with all our fish in the lake when they got real thick.
Mm-hmm.
Because we fish them through the ice. You put a minnow on a hook, they'll hit that hook so hard they tear that minnow right off the hook.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they're really wicked little fish.
And
But they've died off, and then it seemed like everything started coming back again. And I know in commercial fishing, there were too many commercial fishermen too. You know, it just everything took its toll.
Yeah, you've seen it when it was. I mean, there were hundreds of commercial
400,
fishermen.
wasn't there?
Oh,
400 or
yeah.
500?
I don't know, but there used to be all kinds of them.
But one time there was 300 fishermen on Isle Royal.
Yeah,
Found the ones on the shore.
At one time?
yep.
Holy buckets.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And now there would be,
None.
yeah.
They're on there, but on the shore here, there's only about, can be more 5 or 9.
Yeah, there ain't much fishing for, nobody fishes much for herring because they can't get rid of them hardly in the summer. You know, you get rid of a few.
No market.
To the market, to the restaurants can only take so many, you know, so. And
Yeah.
then in the fall, it's just a short time that we fish them. They don't get hit much anymore.
And we process the herring then, which we back split them and salt them and put them in big kegs and
Make spawn. Make
and
such a
then
spawn.
yeah, the roll.
Mm-hmm.
We would salt the roll, and they would take the roll and then ship it to what, New York or Chicago, and they made caviar out of it. And I still think they do that,
They
but
make caviar now out of it, yeah.
Yeah, they still do. That's the big
but
difference.
nobody here processes it anymore.
Yeah.
It's all shipped. Well, it goes. Where does it go? To Green Bay, Wisconsin?
Somewhere's down there right now,
Wisconsin
Mark.
somewhere now.
Yeah.
Above Green Bay, or kind of west of, or east of it a little bit.
What, now, before we went live here, you were talking about skunks. So I know I'm totally jumping subjects here, but now what was the story? Somehow you ended up really stinky.
Well, I had a trap line, and we had to walk like a mile to the bus stop for school. I was up early, and a skunk got in one of my traps, and I shot it, but it didn't die. So I started clubbing it, didn't I, Joe? With a stick.
Yeah.
he was standing off to the sideways.
Yeah. I
Well,
think
it
I
was
helped him
spraying, the
keep his
skunk
phone.
was
Yeah, you
spraying.
were. That mean Edward stood back and watched.
We get on the school bus, we get a mile and a half from home, the bus driver kicks me off the bus. Joe goes to school, he's stunk as bad as me, and he was in school all day.
Nobody sat by me.
That'd be a good way to get rid of whatever girl was pestering you at the time, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Nobody pestered me.
So you guys also had trap lines?
Yeah, for weasels.
Mm-hmm.
And we snared rabbits. The Indians give us 25 cents a piece for rabbits, just in the ground, frozen.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
We haul them on the bus to school and they'd buy them in Portage.
Really?
That sounds ridiculous, don't it?
What would they do with them?
They eat them.
Okay.
The rabbits are good.
And then they usually.
We had a quarter
and that's
apiece for them.
where
That's
maybe
good
some
money.
there's are some that feet in that too besides.
The bus driver was Ben Herbeck, and Joe would make his own bow and arrows, and he would make the arrows and the bow and the string. And he was Ben Herbeck, this bus driver, heard him talking about how he could shoot a rabbit with his bow and arrow. And we were on the bus coming home, and there was a partridge. And he stopped the bus. And he said, "Okay, Joe, go out there and shoot that partridge if you're that good." And he did.
I drilled it right through and it flew away with the arrow. Well, he couldn't believe it.
No.
Well, you shot it just like he asked.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I quit hunting with a bow though. One fall I shot 7 rabbits and 4 partridges, and the last partridge I shot the last rabbit had 4 arrows in them before I finally killed them. He's running screaming in the woods, and I quit then. I said, that's the end of that.
Yeah.
I never hunted with a bow again.
I don't blame you. That sounds like
It's-
a very traumatic event.
and if I'm gonna kill something, I like to see it die. I don't want to see it suffer, That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we caught a mink one time on the bus driver. He would stop. There was Albert Olson's Creek had a mink trap there, and there was a mink in it. And you took it out, and it was alive. And he knew I'd really get after him if it got away. He grabs the mink, and it bit you, didn't it?
oh yeah.
And it was hanging on to him, and he was hanging on to the mink. We got it, what, $15 for a mink pelt?
I can't remember.
In those days, that was a lot of money.
We got 15 for the females and 30 for the males in Swatera, Minnesota from Leo Jewett.
Oh,
Ed Ryden give us remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Your dad give us a connection there. That was big money for mink for us kids then. That was something.
Why were the males so much more than the females?
It's a bigger animal. I don't know.
yeah, it was larger, twice as big probably.
It would have to be if it was
It was,
twice as
yeah.
got twice as much money.
It wasn't
But if we-
twice as big, but it was a lot larger.
We took them to town. They'd sit there and grade them and give you so much for them. And we never got much money in town. for 'em.
Weasels were $1.25 for a pelt, $1.50, $1.75.
Came down to Humphreys photo art shop and they sold her height there.
Right.
Huh.
So we were trappers.
Yeah, you were trappers too. Who knew it?
Yeah.
And I caught a bobcat once.
I got that.
No, I shot a bobcat once with a 22. I was hunting on my trap line, and this bobcat was on a little hill. It heard me, but I was downwind from it, and it was looking around. And I shot it with a 22. So I took it on the bus to Grand Marais. I was in high school, and I got
$15 for bounty.
$15 for this hole.
That's for the bounty.
Yeah.
It was on a
Give me
bounty.
on 'em.
I caught that bobcat too, and I thought rich in the trap.
Yeah. But that one had gotten away once, and then it got caught again.
Well, it was never got away. It was just the rope just didn't get away because it hung there. Rope got stuck in where I had the trap.
Oh, yeah.
He was late, sitting there watching us. So we just shut him.
That'd be a little spooky.
Mhm.
So we always seem to make some money, and then we worked for her dad at the border when we were.
$5 a Sunday. We'd get paid all day long. We'd work till about midnight.
What would you what would you do there?
So behind the candy counter and sometimes behind the bar when we got a little older.
Yeah, I heard Sundays were the riding children were not allowed to be outside of in the beer garden on Sundays because that was when all the Canadians came down, right?
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you worked there then.
They got older.
When we got older, yeah.
yeah.
Then Joe started smoking fish and selling smokers. We were really making money with
Well,
smokers.
Larry was selling them. I'd give him half. He'd sell $50 worth of smoked fish and I'd get 25. He'd get 25.
And I went and helped him. I went a couple times and he said, he didn't figure he didn't make enough money, so he told me not to pay. It didn't help him.
Larry did a better job.
Oh, yeah.
He was a better salesman.
Oh, yeah.
Her brother, you know Larry. Did,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, I knew Larry.
Well, when Larry went to the jamboree, he gave me the job to sell his smoked fish. So I always told him I married him for his smoked fish because I would eat some of it too. I was just little then too.
Yeah, and my dad had those red horse suckers. They're white with red fins.
Mhm.
And they get pretty big. I was playing them out, smoking them. Larry'd sell them up at the border for trout. One Canadian come to me and said, "That's the best eating smoked trout I've ever had." That's no kidding. They got great big scales on them suckers.
Oh my.
You wouldn't get by with it nowadays, would you?
No, there's too many inspectors and Lord only knows. Well, maybe if you sold it on the side of the street.
I haven't sold smoked fish for many years, but I've smoked fish every year just to give away to friends and eat them myself.
Yeah. So did you all make a living in fishing in your adult lives or did some of you do other things?
I've been an electrical contractor for 47 years in Nebraska.
Okay. And
Yeah.
Carbine, did you?
I tried a little bit, but I got started in the forces when I was 15. And I worked for them,
32 years, didn't you?
33 full-time, 37 all told, when I retired at 53.
Wow. So you've been retired for almost 30 years?
25, over 25 and on.
I'm still working.
Hmm.
He's not
Who got
getting enough
the-
money yet, he's like fishing.
You should show him that picture.
I just set a net before you came. Well, I got a fish for this fall.
Right.
He's the thoroughbred fisherman.
Yeah.
Joe
I
Robert
work-
Carlson.
I've worked construction and worked logging quite a bit too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because fishing wasn't good for quite a few years. And it still isn't that, out here there ain't much money in it. It's just something that's good to eat.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice to keep the license anyway.
But all three of you guys fished in Alaska, either with your own boat or you fished with someone else.
Mhm.
I had two boats at one time up in Alaska. Herring boat, clear up by Nome. And he did too. For herring fishing up there, but that didn't work out very well.
Tried for 10 years, but it didn't work.
I did it for 18 years. Me and Pat West were the last ones up there. And I figured I broke even on the herring, so I was lucky to do that.
After 18 years.
Yeah.
Whew.
And the salmon, I had a salmon boat, which I bought from my brother Joel and had that for 20 years. I did well on that.
Yeah.
And I did for 20 years of salmon too, but I just worked for somebody else.
Yeah.
And I fished for 51 years up there. That's a salmon mostly.
This is the last year.
And
This
she
year.
fished 47 with me.
And how many years has it been the last year that you're going to do it?
Or 4, I guess. Just one more year.
Well, it's still easy. I mean, it's just fun, you know. It's
Yeah.
a job, I mean. It's not like a job because it's just like going out in your backyard because you fish the same bays and stuff, and you get to know them pretty well, you know.
Yeah.
So
I
Our
fished
daughter-
salmon 31 years. And then I was a crew member for 10 years.
So how do you seem to like a particular kind of fish. I mean, when I go, I just try and catch anything. Whatever happens to bite my hook, that's great. But how do you, I mean, is it the fight of the fish that you like? Is it are you fishing more of like the season, or how do you choose what you want to go for if you want to go for something
sport
specifically?
fishing, you mean? Or
What?
commercial fishing?
Either, well, I suppose commercial fishing is what can you make the most money on.
Yeah, but sport fishing, I go for the food. I like to eat them. I like to catch them too, but I like to catch the littler ones. They're better eating. The big ones, I don't care. I don't care to have to fight just to get them in the boat. I'd rather get the smaller ones.
Yeah,
I do. Just like walleyes too. I like them little guys about this long.
yeah,
The big ones that you get into catching a whole bunch of the big ones like that, you feel sorry for them, especially in the spring of the year,
yeah.
because they're full of eggs. We run into a bunch one time like that. They're from 5 to 9 pounds, and you couldn't hardly get a small one. And after a while, we never went back there. That spot, it's a spot where they spawn, and they were spawning late that year.
Oh, okay.
So, and it's kind of boring fishing for big fish. You're gonna throw them back anyway. you
Yeah.
know.
And 2 winters ago, ice fishing in Nebraska, I caught pike up to 40, 41 inches. They were 18, 19 pounds. So people think about Nebraska as farmland, but there are some really good fishing lakes. But it took me a few years to learn the good spots. But now it's awesome.
I never
I
would have
like to
thought
catch
of
fish.
Nebraska.
I enjoy processing them, and I like to cook them. And a lot of times, my sister-in-law here, she will cook fish, and we have a good time doing it. And everybody likes to eat fish, so
Yeah.
we're just in a fishing world.
So what was it like in Grand Portage when you were growing up? I mean, what set the scene of what Grand Port, I mean, I know what it looks like now, but what did it look like when you were growing up, and the relationship you had there with the tribe?
We were the minority. There was probably 35 Indians in school and 6 or 7 of us white. So we were the minority. So we know what it's like to be a minority. And that didn't hurt us any, did it, Joe?
No, we got along good with them,
Yeah.
and we still do.
They're our
Mhm.
friends now, so it's different now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot different, isn't it, Denise?
Different than what? Than when you guys were growing up?
But
When
I
you're
mean, there's no discrimination. Well, there's still some, there's always gonna be, but it's not like it used to be.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of poverty in
Oh.
Grand Portage, or were you
Yeah.
all kind of in the
Yes.
same boat, like this whole
We're all in
area?
the same
All in
boat,
the
no
same
money.
boat. Barefooted, no money.
Lucky with that fish all the time anyway.
Yeah.
That was good training, though. No, really. Then when you get older, you want to make money.
Yeah.
You want to work.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, there's a lot of people don't want to do nothing. Yeah, that's what's kind of sad.
Well, I have in Nebraska, I have rental properties, electrical business, and then fishing business up in Alaska, all at the same time.
How in the world do you do that?
Now that I'm as old as I am, I kind of wonder myself. It was stressful at times.
Mm-hmm. So, you spent a lot of time on the big lake, being Lake Superior, and your brother David, drowned in 1974 at the age of 32 years. And before it's hard to recreate a conversation, but before we started, you were telling about that. And then talking about, to me, I would call it your relationship with the big lake. And sort of things that you've learned out there. So maybe let's try and start with talking about your brother and the day that he was out there and drowned, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay.
If you want to start
He
with
was
that.
commercial fishing,
Mm-hmm.
herring, setting anchors for herring nets. It was a dead calm, about 60 degrees, but the water was probably 38 degrees. And the boat accidentally got tipped over. And his wife was with him, but she survived.
Edie over
He
Carlson.
over. And then we had to go to, me and Joy, I had to go to court with Dad and verify it, because he was just planning, he just bought property, purchased property, and was gonna put up a stick home. He bought a brand new car. Well, he had to have it insured, so we had to verify it, his passing away in the courthouse in Grand Marais. Me and Dad had to go. Did you go on that, Joe?
No, I didn't.
For insurance purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So the insurance paid paid everything off.
Now that day, Edie or Edith? Edie
Edith,
survived by, she was on a board?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Two by sixes, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, we call it a dump board.
And what's a dump
So
board?
she was partially out of the water and the sun was shining on her. There was no wind.
Cause you put your anchor sacks up there, you dump wood for, and then you tie the line to it and
You lift one
Oh,
end
okay.
up, and then they slide off the board into the water.
Okay.
Because they weighed about 300 pounds.
I was wondering how you lifted those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Try it.
And
Edie said that they were both on the dump board together, and she was trying to hold on to him, and his head kept going, and going down. The hypothermia was getting to him, and she couldn't hold on to him anymore.
She tried to get a life preserver on him, but he was too far gone by then. He couldn't see shore anymore, and then he just went down.
they were about 3 miles out.
Yes.
And Joy, you happened to hear Edie calling?
Yes, I had gone down to get some dill, and I could hear her calling for her son Rodney.
It's dead calm. You can hear for miles on the lake when it's calm.
Yeah.
And then Ray and Annie came back from town or wherever they were and had Rodney with them. Thank goodness. Otherwise he probably would have been in the boat with them. And so we went out and found her.
Joy and Dad saved her.
Mm-hmm. Was it common for, okay, I have 2 questions brewing in my head. One, you had said that once someone is lost out there, you never find them again.
Right. They're out there forever, as far as we know.
unless they have a life jacket on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All you
right.
do is life jacket, you just find the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't float up. They sink because it's cold. You don't blow it up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 2 girls drowned right out here. Right out front of Joel's
Oh, yeah,
house.
right here, yeah.
Were they from Canada?
They're from Canada.
One of them sunk down, didn't she, to the bottom?
Yeah, one of them was laying on the bottom. The other one made it to shore, and she died right at the edge of the shore, out of the water.
That's severe.
Wow.
If you don't win. If you give it a chance, you're not gonna win.
Think
You
of
gotta
all,
respect it a lot.
yeah.
Tell them the story about you falling overboard off the big boat in Grand Marais. How you know how cold the water is.
That was in April.
Oh, that logging.
Loading logs, or took 4 days off from high school to make some money.
Mm-hmm.
They needed some money,
Yeah.
so they bring logs down and they pile them up they dump them on the boat. You got to arrange them in piles in this big barge. It's maybe 100 feet long. I was up on the bow and I felt like I was 30, 40 feet above the water. And then pulling on a log to pull it over, and my glove slipped off the pickaroon handle and I was off balance. And no way could I regain my balance or do anything. So I looked down to see if there was any ice below me, and there wasn't any. Because there was ice chunks floating around the water then.
Yeah.
And boy, I hit that water, I went way down. They had all the lifesavers tied in knots, they couldn't throw me nothing. That wouldn't have mattered anyway. But I had to swim all the way to the back end to get out of that boat. And when I got to the back, it got easy then. Just like things were, I was going out of it then. I started climbing up the ladder, and guys reached down to help me. I got part way up. And I livened right up. I couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it. Then they took me back to my grandmother's that day. I changed clothes and come back to work. They thought I was crazy.
Well, you got to make money while you can.
We were good swimmers, me and Joe, we were good swimmers, and David was. Was you okay in swimming?
Well, I was okay. I managed to keep up.
I had to slow myself down, or I would have never made it. I was trying too hard at first.
Yeah.
I just had to slow myself, but boy, it probably took me 10 minutes to get back from one end to the other of that boat.
Well, there's
Maybe
logs
longer
down
than
there too, wasn't there?
There wasn't any under there then.
Oh,
There was ice in the water yet. That was in April.
You had someone else's boots on, you wouldn't kick off because you didn't want
That
to
probably
lose someone
saved my life,
else's boots.
kept me warmer.
yeah.
Oh, really? To keep them boots on.
Hard to swim with boots on, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, I could only go so fast anyway.
Yeah.
You couldn't swim real hard, or you just couldn't do it. They're too cold.
Oh no, when you guys were skating, and you fell.
Come
He
on.
went across the thin ice and I fell through it way out in the lake that time.
At night,
Yeah, at night.
dark.
I bounced back out of the water, kept on going.
When you got home, were you just totally frozen stiff?
No, one time I did, I fell through the ice about 2 miles from home. I run home, it was 15 below or so, and my pants were broken. They didn't break the pants, but they stayed loose because I was running, but the rest of them was froze.
Then in the spring, when the ice was probably close to 2 feet thick, it would break up. The stormy weather would break them up, and there'd be big chunks like size of this table, and pretty rough. We would, when Dad and Mom wasn't watching, we'd jump out to these ice skates and see how we could jump from one to the other. Sometimes there'd be a little one between two big ones, and you'd hit that, it'd go down, and you'd jump on the next one. And then Uncle Red, he said, "Why don't you put your skates on?" He said, "Then you have control. You can stop when you get on one." And we tried that too. That worked okay, but with the boots on, they're slippery. It's like if we would have went down between those ice skates, they would have come together, and we'd have been.
You guys are crazy.
You know what about ice skates? I took her and Joey, I was taking care of them. And Joey didn't want me to take them out on ice cakes, so I was alone with them. I took them out on the ice cakes right in the shallower water. And boy, the ice cakes would tip, they'd slide in the water, and I wanted to scare them, keep them off that ice.
I remember being scared.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't deep enough to hurt them. I could just grab them, pick them back out.
Yeah.
So, but it was the best thing I ever did for them, I think. That lake is dangerous when and there's floating ice out there or whatever.
Yeah.
Kids like to play on it.
Well, you kids like to play on it.
All the time. Yeah. We used to skate the flute reed, and I think years ago we skated just about down to Portage, didn't we?
Yes. At
Lake
night,
Superior,
at night, in the dark.
I mean, that lake has cracks in.
Yeah.
We'd have to jump over the open cracks sometimes. With skates on.
That's funny. Funny we never did drown there.
It really is shocking because people these days would never be able to do that. You must have had like extra sensory powers or something to.
We
We were
lived,
young.
we lived in such a free world then. The world we live in today isn't that free anymore. There's too many people with cell phones. So you can't get away with doing anything illegal if somebody's watching they got a cell phone.
or anything maybe a little sketchy or dangerous.
Yes,
Yeah.
Lake Superior don't freeze like it used to either as much.
No.
You know.
it doesn't.
And
Yeah.
you could go out and drive all over it in the car.
We'd be out with our cars on 7 inches of ice, Portage Bay.
Pigeon Bay.
That's
Pigeon Bay.
crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy, all right.
Yeah, and you
And
never
those
would,
cars are heavy those days.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, they would have weighed a ton.
I had a 51 Cadillac 4-door. That's this car right here. I used to drive that out on the ice.
It's upside down.
That was a big
Oh,
car.
Wow. And how would you even, nowadays people wouldn't ever dream of doing such a thing without snow tires
Or
and
testing it.
or testing it. Testing's a good idea.
Because now you got ice augers, you can test the depth.
Yeah.
We would look at the cracks in the ice, figure out how deep it was, didn't we, Joe?
Yeah, you could look at the cracks in the ice, there's no snow on it. You could just see how thick the ice is, you know.
Yeah. And then go, oh yeah, it'll hold my car.
Yeah. You go spinning hookers and everything out there.
But some people say, oh, that ice, this crack's only that much, but there's ice underneath, there's another crack you see underneath there.
We drove the Lincoln out to the hole in the wall.
Oh, yeah.
That was after you were married.
Oh, yeah, that was Ron and, was that Ron and, Mark?
Mark and Ron from
They drove the
Alaska people we
Cadillac
fish
and
for.
we drove our truck out ahead of them, they followed us. We took them out there ice fishing.
Oh,
What?
you even dragged other people out there with you. That's great.
When was Holly here? 5 years ago? We were out in Pigeon Bay. I had my pickup out there. And a Canadian game warden came out with he was checking us out. Remember that?
Yeah,
And he was so scared he was shaking. It was clear. There was no snow on the ice. It was clear. You couldn't even tell how deep thick it was, but it was about what?
a couple feet of ice on
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
And Jerry Spry, he never would drive his out there because he was afraid of ice, wasn't he?
Well,
Clear ice.
he'd go up with me, but he'd make me park the truck away and then walk over there and see him. I'm not going over there.
Yeah.
It's funny how that ice is, because when you're walking out with no snow, I would just walk out in front of their place with them, and the farther out you got, the bottom is going down, getting deeper, and it seems like the ice is getting thinner and thinner, and I did not like it, so I wasn't much on the ice.
So it seems like, your brother David had his wife out in the boat helping fish, and Joe, you certainly have gotten your wife to help out with the fishing a little bit. And
She worked for 47 years in Alaska on the boat.
did all of you get your wives to join in the fishing? Or girlfriends or
My wife can't stand anything cold.
so that's a hard no there.
She never did go to Alaska with me or fish with me. She used to sports fish once in a while if it was no wind and 75 degrees.
Not real great fishing conditions, I don't think.
No. Nebraska blows all the time there.
Yeah.
Just about. Not as bad as North Dakota, but almost.
Their younger brother Noble fished with Gene up there, so he was another brother in Alaska fishing.
Right.
Okay. You've talked about Jerry Spry quite a few times. Who Who's he? Tell us about Jerry.
He's a friend of mine, a good friend of ours, Sprites from the reservation there.
He's still commercial.
He's commercial fishing all the time, year round. I mean, not, except now he started to go to Florida once in a while. Friends that we've been with, all our, there's kids we grew up together.
What did he fish, a half a net in the summertime?
We're in fifty.
He gets all the fish he wants out of half a net in the summer now. When you were kids, you couldn't catch herring like that.
Wow.
Growing up, we were always together, the Rydens, Olbergs, Spries and Carlsons. And that was, I don't think there's Spries on that one, but
We were like one big family.
Rydens and Spries on there. We'd get together for 4th of July's, that's over at Red Rock Beach, and Thanksgiving, and we'd have dances. Some of us married the Rydens, the Carlsons, the Spries together.
Wow, I can just picture all those kids kind of running in and out of everybody's houses up there. And
You didn't run out of the house, you get your ass butt kicked. You stayed outside. You stayed outside.
didn't go and dirty up everybody's house.
No. Not
At the
little
old
kids.
border, there was a big mess hall we had at the cabin, so we'd have like Thanksgiving and meals up there too, everybody together.
4th of July on the Pigeon River sometimes.
Mhm.
Have a big get together.
Down Red Rock.
And Red Rock Creek.
We had that was a lot of times we did that on 4th of July.
Yeah.
Down there on the beach, every 4th of July for a while.
Either there or the Pigeon River.
They made homemade ice cream, and a big crank thing, they cranked out a bunch of ice cream, that was good.
Yep.
When he first started, but after a while, he'd spot them 5-gallon containers of ice
Oh,
cream.
yeah, later on, yeah.
Speaking with the Ober girls, didn't you guys go over there? They had to make some apple pies or use up some pies before their dad, Roy Oberg, would let them go someplace. So you had to
Well,
make
Gene made the
I
pie.
worked on the ore boats right out of high school. I did seasons on the ore boats on the Great Lakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a cook. I was a dishwasher one year, and then the cook liked me, and the second cook, he left, so I became a cook for 2 years, and I was in the Steelworkers Union, and that was probably the best job you could get, and I was just out of high school, stupid kid, making all that money, and I learned how to make pies, and I was a pastry cook. And the girls, the Ober girls, their dad wouldn't let them go on a Saturday night unless what do you have, a bushel of apples?
Yeah, he had a bunch of apples.
I said, so I was over there and they said, well, we can't go anyplace. We got to process these apples. I said, well, I can do that. I made apple pies and apple.
crisp.
Oh, yeah, I did the whole works anyway in a little while. They were peeling apples and I was cooking them. Making pie crusts and cooking.
Wasn't there pies all over the place though? I remember you saying something about all kinds of pies when
Oh, yeah.
Roy Ober came home from Isle Royal. They had a lot of pies.
Oh my goodness.
And then sometimes the girls couldn't go out on Saturday because Roy fished herring and well, they processed herring. Well, they were so slow, and we would get ours done. So me and Joe would help them finish up their processing the herring. So we worked all our lives from when we were little all the way. And Richard Hendricks, he was slow at processing herring too in the fall, so he would hire us to help him. After we would get Dad's fish processed, we would go over there and he'd pay us to process herring.
Would all of you go, or was it kind of you and Joe?
Just me and Joe.
I was over there too.
Did you go to?
Oh, yeah, Eddie was there.
I had to go one time, he broke his arm, Richard tried to pick his nets. And I came in pretty early that day, with a full boat of herring on the slide. I went up to the house and his wife said, wasn't there any fish out there? I said, no, I got a boatload. He said, how'd you get so many fish that fast? I said, there's another boatload out there in the nets yet. I had to go back out again, but he was so slow at picking, it just,
Yeah,
you know,
That's Mary Pet's parents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sally and Richard. And then Richard died out on the lake. And Joe and Ben tell the
we went out
story.
and got him.
The boat was going around in circles, and was it Mary could see the boat going around?
Yeah, and I ran the boat out there and I had Ben sitting in front. And then the boat would come around and hit, there was some waves coming. When the boat would get against some waves, as it's spinning around, it would slow down at a certain spot. So I told him I'm gonna hit it as soon as it hits those waves and slows down. And there was an open door, one of the doors on the side was open. I said, you jump through that door and I hit the boat. Cause I had to get out of the way because it would spin around, run right over us.
Yeah.
And he did it right and Richard was in there dead, so he got the boat under control. And but kind of a scary deal too. We all became with a big boat, you know, because he was radio too, but he couldn't get close to him.
Yeah.
We just had his herring skiff. And
did they let it run out of gas then, or what?
no, he just slowed the motor down.
Oh, he got on the
I
controls.
ran right up to the side and Ben jumped into it.
Oh, and then he
I
said.
ran right in forward and banged into it and Ben jumped right off the front into the boat.
It was going pretty fast, wasn't it?
It was going about 3/4 throttle.
Oh, wow.
That's why it was spinning around really fast, but when it hit the waves, it would slow down enough. I said, that's where I gotta hit it, so. You only got one chance.
Yeah.
Water has been our experience all our lives, just about.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of experiences.
And I'm an avid ice fisherman. And I've fallen through the ice in Kansas and down in Nebraska. And last time was 7 years ago in Kansas. And by the time I got to the pickup and I always had a change of clothes, and my buddy, he's helping me, and it was hypothermia by the time I got a change of clothes and the pickup was warmed up. And 12 years ago, I fell in Nebraska. I was testing the ice with my foot. There was a crack and there was night ice. And, if you test the ice with your foot, guess what? If it doesn't hold you, it's not safe. What are you going to hold on to? You go down. My buddy grabbed my parka and pulled me out. Both times he did that. He pulled me out.
I've learned two things from that story. One, I'm never going ice fishing with you. And two, you should never go ice fishing alone.
Well, my buddy's wife said, you're going to be next. She said, you better not go ice fishing with that guy.
No, he's the smart one. He sends you out first on the ice.
Well, yeah, I was first one time, but then he was ahead of me the second time. And the ice was 12 inches thick, but I must have went off the trail just a little bit too far, and it was just big enough hole. I went right down. Dark.
Here comes the duck hunter.
The sleds came on top of me, and
It went away.
I'm showing you the time.
Oh, yeah. Ice fishing. What other good stories do you have? No pressure.
on skip day for high school, me and George Johnson, do you know who he is in Crawford?
No.
We didn't go to skip day in Chicago. We went fishing up to Mountain Lake, and the water was right after ice out, and I fell out of a canoe up there. And I didn't have any change of clothes, but it was dead calm, and I couldn't even paddle a canoe. I was shaking so bad when I swam to shore and got out of it. He stayed in the canoe. He couldn't swim. He was not a swimmer, but that was pretty bad.
Oh my goodness.
He sounds hazardous, don't he?
He does. I think-
No, I don't know.
I think the extent of our relationship is going to be right here where it's nice and safe. Well, it's getting to be about that time where we can wind it up for the evening. I'm going to put Denise on the spot one time. Denise, what is one of your favorite stories that you have not heard yet tonight that you would like them to tell?
Well, I was trying to get him to tell the story of the rowboat. Tell again about when Dad would row a little faster than you.
And go in circles.
Well, we wouldn't go straight. So
No.
then I would really get upset.
I was rowing the boat, he sat in the net. That's when he got mad.
Well, I think
And I got drifted off the reef. I missed the reef.
it was a different time when you were both rowing on each side because you were too little. And Uncle Gene said Joe would start rowing so fast and you couldn't keep up and the boat would spin and you'd get so mad at him.
Yeah, we wouldn't go straight.
We broke an oar once,
Oh, yeah.
offland wind in the fall. We had 3 oars with us. We broke one. Good thing we had 3. Cause we just bait it to that little buoy that we had tied to our net. So we could get, and then we pulled the shore off, from the end of the net. We grabbed the outside end.
What about that time you were messing with a porcupine and it swatted you in the shins?
So,
I was pulling quills out of his leg and he's crying and
I
blood's
kicked him in
running
the
down his
side.
leg.
Why did you kick the
He
porcupine?
smacked me like this right now, and I just
We
solid
were
throat.
messing with the porcupine. I told him, don't kick that porcupine. He was messing with it, kicking it a little bit, not hurting it, but just messing with it,
I was just messing a little bit, and it swatted me like that. That's how stupid kids get.
One time we were burying a cat on the beach. There was a dead cat on the beach, and we wanted to bury it, so we were covering it with rocks. And I reached down to move a rock, and as he threw one and split the back of my head open.
Guy lying around his head with a rock. I go, oh man. Because you're picking up rocks like this and throwing them on that cat. Well, he's over here and his head's right.
I think Joe has to tell the story about Easter eggs.
No, that wasn't no funny story. It was just
It is too.
coloring rocks down by the beach.
Painting.
With my
Painting
dad's
rocks.
boat paint, and I loved to paint rocks. I had all the rocks painted. I got heck for that, but
Well, I knew I was helping too, but then I knew Dad would probably show up, so I left. So he got the blame for all of the painted rocks.
Using up all the
I
boat
think he
paint.
spanked you, didn't he?
he probably did.
Paint was expensive back those days.
Yeah,
He didn't
for
have
sure.
any money, and he painted his boats with it. It was good paint.
Wasn't it, Joe? Yeah, I guess so.
Sure made pretty rocks.
Yeah, it did.
Yes.
Easter eggs.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you guys for joining us this evening. And I have a feeling I'm going to do a little bit more research and I'll be back to interview these gentlemen.
1 or 90?
I might have to do it before then, but maybe when you're 90. Thank you for joining us this evening on Coffee with Mildred. If you like our channel, hit like and subscribe so you can see any of these extra interviews that come up. Also, you can go to cookcountyhistory.org and hit the Join Us button to become a member of the Cook County Historical Society. We would really appreciate your support for this programming and other projects that we do. Have a good evening, and I will see you next Tuesday. I will be up in Grand Portage with Jesse James and hopefully Ray Olson and Butch Deschamps as well. So we'll see you then. Thanks. Bye.